It was still dark outside when the pounding started on my front door. A heavy, frantic pounding, and the kind no one does unless something is horribly wrong. I glanced at the clock. 5:02 a.m. No one knocks. At that hour, I slipped on a hoodie and walked toward the door, heart thudding in my chest. When I opened it, my neighbor, Gabriel Stone, stood there. The guy barely spoke more than a nod. Whenever we crossed paths, quiet, private, emotionless, but right now, his face was pale, his breathing uneven, his eyes darting like someone being hunted. "Noah," he said, voice low and shaking. "Don't go to work today. Stay home. Just trust me." I froze. Gabriel wasn't the type to show panic. He wasn't the type to show anything. "What are you talking about?" I asked. "Did something happen?" He shook his head, but his eyes were sharp with warning. A warning. "I didn't understand yet. I can't explain right now," he whispered. "Just promise me you won't leave your house today." Not for any reason. The cold morning air, the last dark stretch of night, the pink streak of sunrise behind him, all of it felt unreal. Like I had stepped into someone else's nightmare. "You're scaring me, man," I said quietly. "Why shouldn't I go?" He hesitated, then leaned closer. "You'll understand by noon." Before I could ask a single question, he stepped back, scanning the neighborhood like someone might be watching us. Then he walked quickly back to his house without another word. I stood there in silence, hand still on the doorknob, trying to make sense of what just happened. Rational part of me told me he was being paranoid, maybe stressed, maybe he'd had some kind of breakdown, but another part of me, the part that never ignored my instincts, told me this wasn't random, and there was a reason. I couldn't brush it aside. 3 months ago, I lost my father, suddenly, unexpectedly. Official cause: stroke, but right before he died, he kept trying to talk to me about something urgent, something he needed to show me. When I pushed him, he only said, "It's about our family. Noah, it's time you knew." We never had that conversation. Since then, strange things had been happening around me. A car with tinted windows parked on my street for hours, blocked. Phone calls where no one spoke. My sister, who works overseas, asking if I'd noticed anyone new in the area. No one said anything directly, but the pressure around my life, the feeling of being watched, it had been growing quietly, intentionally. My name is Noah Rowan. I'm 33, a financial analyst at Henning & Cole Investments. I don't miss work. I don't skip days. My life is structured and predictable, until today. I made a choice that morning, not from fear, but from logic. If Gabriel was wrong, I'd lose 1 day of work. If he was right, I might be saving my life. I texted my manager, claiming a personal emergency. Then I waited. Every sound in the house felt amplified. The fridge hum, the ticking clock. Even the wind felt like whispers against the walls. By 11:30 a.m., I started feeling stupid. Gabriel hadn't come back. Nothing had happened. Then my phone rang. "Unknown number," I answered. "Mr. Rowan," a calm voice said. "This is Officer Taylor with the County Police Department. Are you aware of a critical incident that occurred at your workplace this morning?" My heartbeat stopped. "What incident?" The officer exhaled. "There was a violent attack at your building. Multiple employees were injured. We have reason to believe you were present." My entire body went cold. "That's impossible," I said. "I wasn't there." A long silence. Then, "Mr. Rowan, we have footage of your car arriving at 8:02 a.m. Your work ID was used to enter the building. Security reports claim you were last seen on the 3rd floor before the attack." My knees nearly gave out. I grabbed the table to keep myself upright. Something wasn't just wrong. Something was coming for me. Before I continue, tell, from which place are you watching this story right now? Please subscribe and like the video for motivation. I sat down heavily at the kitchen table, my hands trembling, my mind spinning. Footsteps outside. Nothing, just the wind. The house was silent, except for my own rapid heartbeat. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. My stomach twisted. I hesitated before answering. "Mr. Rowan," Officer Taylor's voice said again, calm but urgent. "We need you to remain at home until further notice. The situation at your workplace is still active. There's reason to believe the attacker is still at large. and your presence at the building may have triggered surveillance alarms. I leaned back, trying to make sense of it. Triggered alarms. Surveillance footage shows me there? I hadn't left my house. I'd been inside all morning. Then I remembered Gabriel, the man who knocked at 5 a.m., the warning I almost ignored. Grabbed my coat and bolted for the window, peering down the street. Nothing. Just the usual early morning quiet. Except my neighbor's garage door was open. Gabriel was inside. Moving frantically, I ran to the door and flung it open. Gabriel, what the hell is going on? Someone tried to use my ID to get into my office. There's an attack? He didn't answer immediately. Just motioned me inside. Once the door closed behind me, he looked me dead in the eyes. Sit, he said, voice steady now. I'll explain as much as I can. I sank into the chair. Adrenaline still racing, he pulled out a small tablet from his coat pocket and tapped the screen. A security feed flickered to life, showing my office building. My car was parked in front. My badge swiped to enter. And there I was. Or rather, someone who looked exactly like me, walking calmly to the elevators. That's you, isn't it? I asked, horror creeping in. Gabriel shook his head. No, that's a replica. Someone is using a perfect clone, a deepfake, with your ID. They planned this down to the second, to make it look like you were inside when the attack happened. If you'd gone to work, you'd be dead. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. You have to trust me, Noah, he said. I've been tracking this. The people behind it. They're careful, methodical, dangerous. They've been watching you for months. Ever since your father. His death wasn't an accident. My blood ran cold. What do you mean? His death? Gabriel's hands shook slightly as he pointed to the tablet. Your father discovered something. A secret network. Illegal operations that reach further than you can imagine. When he tried to warn you, it was too late for him. But not for you. That's why I came here at dawn. You weren't supposed to leave your house. I swallowed hard. My life, my father's death. The strange things I'd noticed. All of it suddenly made sense. Why me? I asked. Why would they go to such lengths? Gabriel paused. Because you are next in line. They underestimated your father. They underestimated you. They need to remove anyone in your family who could expose them. The room seemed to shrink. Every sound outside, the wind, the hum of Gabriel's fridge, the faint squeak of the floorboard, felt like a warning. Then I noticed a small envelope on his table, addressed to me. In my father's handwriting, froze. Gabriel handed it over. You need to read this, but carefully. Whoever is after you, they're always watching. I tore it open. Inside a single note, Noah. If you're reading this, it means you're already in danger. Trust no one. Your life depends on what you do next. I looked up at Gabriel, eyes wide. Next? I asked, voice trembling. What next? He leaned closer. You have to disappear, just for today. Don't answer calls, don't go outside, don't trust anyone you see. They will try to lure you. They know your routine. They will come for you if they think you're safe. My chest tightened. Every rational thought screamed at me to leave, to run to work, to call the police. But instinct, the one I'd learned to trust after my father died, told me to stay put, and I realized, as I sank back into the chair, that Gabriel wasn't just giving advice, he was giving me a lifeline. I wasn't safe yet, but for now, I was alive. The house felt different now. Every shadow seemed alive. Every creak in the floor made my heart leap. Couldn't shake the image of that deepfake footage. Someone using my face, my car, my ID, walking calmly into the building while chaos erupted inside. I tried to call my sister, Sophie, but the line went straight to voicemail. Even she couldn't be trusted. The network was so extensive. They could intercept calls, messages, anything. Gabriel handed me a small, portable device, kind of scanner. This will help you monitor signals nearby. Phones, cameras, trackers, anything digital they might use to follow you. Keep it with you at all times. I took it, fumbling with my hands. The device beeped faintly. Almost immediately, a red light flashed. Someone was nearby. Gabriel's voice was steady but firm. They're here. My pulse spiked. I ran to the window. Peeking around the blinds, a black SUV idled across the street. The windows were tinted. Too high-tech for a normal person. Too obvious to be coincidence. They've been watching this house for weeks, Gabriel said. That's how they know your routine. That's how they planted the clone at your office. My stomach churned. I felt trapped, panicked, but there was no time for fear. I had to think. Gabriel leaned in, lowering his voice. There's a safe room in your basement, reinforced, shielded. We can set up temporary defenses. But we can't stay there long. They'll figure out a new tactic if we do. Right now it's about survival, movement, unpredictability. I nodded, swallowing hard. The basement. Yes, that made sense. But the thought of hiding, running, being hunted, it was surreal. We made our way down the narrow staircase, every step creaking underfoot. I glanced at Gabriel, trying to read him. He was calm, composed, but I could see the tension in his jaw. He was scared too, and yet, somehow that made me feel slightly safer. He knew this threat intimately. He had prepared for this. Once inside the basement, Gabriel activated a series of locks, panels sliding into place with mechanical precision. The room was stark, but it had everything necessary: food, water, communications jammers, and a small monitor showing live feeds from the street outside. Sank onto a metal chair, trying to breathe. My mind raced, and 1,000 questions, no answers. Then, the monitor flickered. Movement. Not outside, but in my own neighborhood. A man in a dark hoodie was walking along the sidewalk, stopping at random houses, seemingly scanning numbers, doors, windows. And then he froze, looked straight at my house. I froze. Gabriel leaned forward, whispering, "They know we're here, but they don't know exactly where." For now, the next moments were tense silence. Only the distant hum of traffic and the occasional bird outside reminded me that the world was still moving. Outside of my nightmare, then, my phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. I didn't touch it. Gabriel's hand on my shoulder reminded me any interaction could give away our location. Hours passed. The device beeped sporadically, each time signaling someone nearby. I stayed low, barely breathing. Every sound, every shadow felt amplified. My life had become a constant surveillance nightmare. By late morning, I was exhausted. My hands were raw from gripping the edge of the chair. My mind was foggy, but I couldn't let it slip. Not for a second. Gabriel leaned close again. "Noah, listen carefully. This is the critical part. They're not just watching you physically. They've planted digital traps. Clones, emails, messages. They'll try to trick you into revealing your location. They'll use your instincts against you. You have to stay 2 steps ahead. Always question reality." I nodded. I had no choice. Then the monitor flickered again, showing my SUV, my own car, parked where I'd left it. But now someone else was inside. The deepfake. They were testing the perimeter, testing reactions. Gabriel's voice was steady but cold. "The real test is coming soon, noon. That's when you'll understand everything." I swallowed, heart hammering. Noon. The same time Gabriel had warned me in the morning. I had survived hours of waiting, paranoia, terror. But this was only the beginning, and I realized something terrifying. The people after me weren't just smart. They were patient. And patience, I quickly learned, was far deadlier than any attack. Noon arrived like a thunderclap. I didn't notice it at first, only the subtle shift in the house. The way the light through the blinds sharpened, almost artificial. The hum from outside seemed louder, sharper. The tension in the basement was suffocating. Gabriel's eyes were fixed on the monitor. "They're making their move," he said quietly. I felt my pulse spike. My stomach churned. Every instinct screamed, something is coming. And it's close. Then the first message came. My phone vibrating silently in my pocket, unknown number. A text: "We know you're hiding, Noah. Come out. Make it easy on yourself." I stared at it, frozen. Gabriel's hand gripped my shoulder again. "Do not respond. Do not move. They're trying to bait you. Any reaction will tell them exactly where you are." I swallowed hard, trembling. The words on the screen were almost mocking, as if someone knew the panic rising inside me. The basement door rattled, and soft, deliberate. I tensed. My hands gripped the edge of the chair. "They're testing the locks," Gabriel whispered. "Checking if we're here." A low mechanical click echoed through the room. My stomach dropped. My pulse raced like a drum. Gabriel pulled me back from the door. "Remember, Noah, every second counts. Keep your head. Follow my lead." The monitor flickered again. I could see shadows moving outside along the perimeter. Men in hoodies, silent, methodical. One stopped, looking directly at the basement windows. I didn't move. My breath caught in my throat, then the deepfake appeared. On the monitor, my own face standing at the edge of the street, perfectly mimicking me, down to the smallest gesture. "They're trying to confuse you," Gabriel said, jaw tight. "They'll make you doubt reality." Don't fall for it. I wanted to scream, to run, to fight, but I didn't. I stayed frozen, heart hammering, watching my own image being used as bait. Then a new sound, glass breaking upstairs. Gabriel cursed under his breath. "They're in the house." I bolted from the chair, instincts kicking in. Gabriel grabbed my arm. "Stay low. Stay silent." We moved through a hidden passage behind the basement wall, and something I didn't even know existed. Gabriel had prepared for this. It was a tight crawl space, dark and narrow. My hands scraped against the rough concrete walls. Every sound of my own movement felt deafening. Above us, I could hear footsteps, careful, calculated, moving room to room. They weren't looking for anything else. They were looking for me. Then, the unmistakable sound of my father's old pocket watch clattering to the floor. Upstairs, I froze. Memories of my father flooded me. His warnings, his sudden death, the note he left behind. Everything was connected. Gabriel's whisper cut through my panic. "Noah, they know everything your father knew. They want the same from you, and they will not stop." I swallowed hard. The weight of it hit me. This wasn't just survival. This was a calculated huntman, and I was the prey. Minutes felt like hours. The shadows outside flickered across the walls of the crawl space. I could hear faint electronic beeps, the same type of signals the device had detected earlier. They were scanning, checking, probing. Then came a sound that made my blood run cold. A voice, distorted, over a speaker somewhere in the house. "We know you're down there. Noah, we know you're hiding. Give yourself up, or the next one dies." My hands clenched into fists. My body shook, but Gabriel's grip was firm. "They're bluffing," he said. "Don't respond. Let them make mistakes. Be patient. This is their first error," but patience was hard. When your own face was being used against you, when your identity was weaponized, when every move outside your sight could cost lives. Then, through a crack in the wall, I saw movement in the living room. A figure, tall, hooded, carrying something metallic. A weapon. Gabriel's eyes met mine. "Noah, it's real. They're here." Adrenaline surged. My survival instinct screamed fight or flight. But Gabriel shook his head. "Not yet, we wait. Timing is everything." I swallowed my fear. Every nerve in my body screamed. This was no longer a warning. This was a test. And the next move would decide everything, life or death. I realized then, as I crouched in the dark crawl space, that this wasn't just about escaping. It was about outsmarting them, about surviving the impossible, and I had no choice because if I failed, the people behind this attack would ensure I would never exist again. Time had slowed. Every second dragged like an eternity. The basement was quiet now, almost too quiet. My ears were straining to catch even the faintest sound. Every shadow outside the reinforced window felt like a threat. Every vibration on the floor sent a jolt through my chest. Gabriel crouched beside me, whispering, "They're probing our defenses. They've been watching patterns for months. They know how we think." "How you think?" I swallowed hard. The device in my hand beeped. Faintly, someone approaching from the front of the house. Not the street, inside. My stomach dropped. The deepfake, the messages, the unknown calls, all led to this. Someone had found a way. Gabriel motioned for me to stay low as he moved toward the hidden passage control panel. He tapped a few sequences on a small keypad, and a hidden steel door slid silently into place, revealing a second escape tunnel. "We're moving," he said, voice steady. "Stay quiet. No mistakes." I nodded, my hands shaking, adrenaline coursing through me. We crawled through the narrow passage, the walls cold against my skin. Every step echoed in my mind, every breath felt magnified. Upstairs, the intruders were systematic, searching room by room, their movements precise. It was clear they weren't amateurs. They weren't just after money or information. They were after me. Gabriel paused at a corner, listening. He pointed ahead. "The safe room. There's a secondary lock. Once we're in, they won't find us immediately." I crawled forward, heart pounding. The passage opened into a small windowless room. Inside, reinforced walls, basic supplies, communication jammers, and a single monitor. Gabriel immediately began checking signals, scanning the nearby streets, the house, everything. "They're outside," he said, voice low. "They're waiting for you to make a move. They want you visible, but they won't know exactly where you are. Not yet." I sank against the wall, trying to catch my breath. My mind was racing, the deepfake, the messages, the voice over the speaker. Everything pointed to one thing. They weren't just trying to intimidate me. They were testing me, studying me, learning my reactions. The monitor flickered. Outside, shadows moved with precision. Another figure, distinct this time, tall, broad shoulders, carrying a briefcase. The kind of person who looked ordinary but wasn't. Gabriel leaned in, whispering, "They're the orchestrators. Whoever is behind your father's death, they're here today. They're not leaving until they see results." I clenched my fists. My chest was tight, but fear was slowly morphing into determination. I couldn't let them win. Not my life. Not my father's memory. Suddenly, the monitor showed movement behind the house. Someone was trying to breach the basement from an alternate entrance. The device beeped furiously. Gabriel's eyes sharpened. "They found the backup exit. We need to move again, now." We slid open another hidden panel and crawled through an even narrower tunnel, barely wide enough for one person at a time. The air was musty, tight. My lungs burned, but I forced myself to keep moving. At the end of the tunnel, a small hatch opened to the backyard. The sun hit me in the eyes as I crawled out, Gabriel following close behind. My car was gone. My street looked normal, but every sense screamed danger. "Stay low," Gabriel whispered. "They have drones, too. Cameras in the sky. They'll track movement. Patterns." We sprinted toward a line of trees at the edge of the property, moving like shadows. Every branch, every rustle felt amplified. My heart raced. My thoughts were fragmented. Who are they? How did they clone me? Why my father? What's next? Then, through the foliage, I saw a figure waiting, shrouded in black. Not a neighbor. Not anyone I recognized. Someone tall, masked, carrying a tablet showing the deep fake. Footage guys me walking into the building. Gabriel froze. "This is it," he said. "They want confirmation that you're alive, that the bait worked." I felt a cold fury rise inside me. They wanted me to panic, to move, to make a mistake. They wanted me reactive. I clenched my jaw. "We're not giving them that." Gabriel nodded. "Good, we do this smart. We survive. We turn the tables." The figure raised the tablet, as if signaling something. And then the first shot rang out. Not aimed at us, just a warning. The air exploded with sound. My ears rang. "Run!" Gabriel yelled. We sprinted through the trees, twisting, ducking, my legs burning, my mind laser-focused. Every shadow could hide an enemy. Every sound could signal death. Behind us, the figure moved smoothly, methodical, not chasing recklessly but carefully, tracking, anticipating our moves. I realized something terrifying. They weren't just strong or smart. They were patient, and patience made them deadlier than any weapon. We ducked into a small abandoned shed at the edge of the property. I pressed my back against the wall, gasping for breath, heart hammering. Gabriel checked the monitor. "They're not leaving. They're circling." "They want you to run again," he said. "We need a plan, fast." My hands shook. My mind raced. Every instinct screamed survival. Every rational thought screamed strategy, and in that moment, I understood something. The people after me weren't just trying to kill me. They were trying to control me, manipulate me, break me mentally, before the physical threat even hit, and if I didn't act carefully, no one would survive this hunt. The shed was dark, musty, and claustrophobic. My chest heaved, sweat soaking through my hoodie. Every sound outside him, the crunch of leaves, the faint hum of tires on distant streets, felt amplified, like a signal I couldn't ignore. Gabriel crouched beside me, eyes scanning the small monitor. "They're testing our patience," he said. "Every move we make, every second we hesitate, they record, analyze. They want you to crack." I pressed my hands into my face, trying to steady my nerves. My legs were trembling, my thoughts spinning. Every instinct told me to run, to fight, to scream. But logic and Gabriel's calm presence kept me rooted. Then the tablet beeped. The figure with the deepfake, the one outside, was communicating with someone. Short bursts of code, signals, movements. They were coordinating, professional, precise, dangerous. "They're calling for backup," Gabriel whispered. "We have minutes, maybe seconds." My pulse shot. I gritted my teeth. Minutes, seconds. That wasn't enough time. Not to plan, not to think, not to survive. Suddenly, a branch snapped outside. Too close. My heart leapt. I held my breath. The shadow outside moved deliberately. Circling the shed, Gabriel's hand pressed against my shoulder. Stay calm. Let me handle this. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small device. Pressing a sequence of buttons, a faint humming noise started, almost imperceptible. Then, a bright flash of light, temporarily blinding anyone outside. The shadow froze, staggered back. The deepfake device dropped briefly from their hands, as if the operator was momentarily disoriented. That's our chance, Gabriel said. We move. Now. I scrambled behind him as he led me out of the shed, moving silently through the trees. My legs burned, lungs burning, but I didn't stop. Every step, every breath, every movement was calculated. Then, ahead I saw the SUV again, the one that had been idling all morning. And inside, another figure hooded, waiting. Gabriel's voice was low but urgent. They're trying to hurt us. Don't go to the vehicle, we go left. Follow me, I followed, keeping low, shadows hiding us. Every instinct screamed danger. Every step could be our last. Suddenly, the first physical confrontation hit. A figure lunged from the bushes, aiming a weapon at us. I froze for a second, in oolong, then Gabriel shouted, "Dodge!" I rolled to the side, the weapon firing a warning shot that embedded itself in the dirt beside me. Heart hammering, I scrambled up, adrenaline surging. This wasn't a drill. This wasn't paranoia. This was real. Gabriel struck back, moving like he had trained for years in situations like this. He disarmed the assailant with a quick, precise maneuver, sending the attacker sprawling into the underbrush. I stared, wide-eyed. Who are these people? I gasped. Gabriel didn't answer. No time, we keep moving. Every second counts. We sprinted toward a cluster of abandoned buildings near the edge of the property. Temporary safe zone. Gabriel had identified inside one of the buildings. We paused, gasping for breath, hearts hammering. The walls were bare, cold, but at least we weren't exposed. Gabriel leaned against the wall, whispering, "They won't stop, not now, not ever, unless we change the game. You need to understand. They're using fear as a weapon. Fear of the unknown, fear of your own reflection, the deepfake, everything, but you can turn it against them." I shook my head, still trying to catch my breath. Turn it against them? How? They have everything. My face, my ID, my schedule. They know me better than I know myself. Gabriel's eyes met mine, unwavering. Exactly. And that's why we fight smart. They think they control the narrative. They think they know how you react. But you control the next move. That's power. That's survival. We sat in tense silence for a few moments, listening for any sign of pursuit. The distant hum of vehicles, the faint crunch of leaves, the occasional bird call. Every sound set me on edge. Then, another warning beep from the device, and someone was moving on the far side of the building. A new wave of tension hit. Gabriel's voice was steady but grim. They're testing boundaries now. They'll try anything. Remember, Noah, the most dangerous move is the one they expect. I nodded, gripping the device tightly. Every muscle in my body screamed for action. But I forced myself to think, to plan, to anticipate, because the first attack had only been the beginning, and the next move, the next confrontation, would decide everything. The abandoned building was silent now, but it was a fragile kind of silence, the calm before a storm. My muscles were tense, every nerve screaming. The adrenaline was still coursing through me, but fatigue was creeping in. My breaths came in sharp, shallow bursts. Gabriel crouched beside me, whispering as he checked the device. They're adapting. They know the first attack failed. The next one won't be a test. It will be decisive. I swallowed hard. My mind raced, thinking about the deepfake, the messages, the threats, the surveillance. Every step of the day had been orchestrated, every fear calculated. I realized then these people weren't just hunting me. They were trying to break me before they finished the job. The device beeped again, rapid this time. Someone was close. Too close. Gabriel's eyes narrowed. Stay down. Low profile. Let them come to us. Through a cracked window, I saw movement. Two figures, hooded, moving with precision, scanning the building. One carried a small electronic device and probably another deepfake operator. They were communicating silently, hand signals, gestures, professionals. One step, one mistake, and this could be the end. Gabriel pressed a small button on the device. A faint high-frequency pulse emitted from it. The figures outside hesitated, shifting slightly. Confused. "This buys us a little time," Gabriel whispered. "We can move, but carefully. Watch your back." We slipped through a side door into another abandoned structure, a narrow corridor lined with debris. My legs were shaking, but I forced them to keep moving. Every sound of our own footsteps was deafening in the silence. Then, the unmistakable sound of glass, shattering, the front window of the building we had just left. The hooded figures had adapted quickly. They weren't giving up. I felt panic claw at me, but Gabriel's hand on my shoulder kept me grounded. "Remember, Noah, they want a reaction. Don't give them one they can use." We reached a small stairwell leading underground, another of Gabriel's safe exits. I descended, heart hammering, muscles screaming, barely noticing the dirt and debris cutting my hands. At the bottom, a hidden door led into a larger tunnel system. One, I realized, must run beneath the neighborhood. Gabriel handed me a flashlight. Its beam was narrow, cutting through the darkness like a knife. "We'll move through here. They won't expect it. They think they control every exit. But we control this one," Gabriel whispered. I followed him into the tunnels, each step echoing ominously. The air was cold and damp. My senses were on high alert. Every distant sound, a drip of water, a scurrying rat, even our own breathing, felt amplified. Then a faint vibration beneath my feet. The device beeped violently, multiple signals converging. Someone else was in the tunnels. "They're coming," Gabriel said grimly. "And they've brought more than just trackers this time." My stomach dropped. Weapons, backup. They were escalating. Suddenly, a light flickered ahead and a flashlight moving fast. We ducked behind a low tunnel wall, holding our breath. The beam passed close enough to illuminate Gabriel's face, and I felt my heart stop. "They're not leaving," he whispered. "We need to split. Make them guess. Force them to choose. We can't stay together now. If they catch both of us—" I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. The reality hit me. I was truly alone now. Truly a target. Gabriel handed me a small backpack and essentials. The device, food, water. "Go left. I'll create a diversion." We regroup at the northern exit. "Understand?" "Yes," I whispered, voice tight. He pressed a button on the device, sending a pulse forward. Lights flickered in the tunnel ahead. A loud metallic clang echoed. Shouts, muffled, but enough to tell me it had worked. I moved swiftly, silently, navigating the narrow tunnels, trying to stay one step ahead. Every instinct screamed danger. Every shadow could hide death, and something that made my blood run cold. A familiar voice, distorted, coming through a hidden speaker. "Noah Rowan. You can run, but you can't hide forever. We see everything. We control everything. Make the wrong turn and it ends." I froze, flashlight shaking in my hand. My mind raced. They knew. They always knew, but then a flicker of resolve hit me. I couldn't run forever. I couldn't let fear control me. My father's warnings, Gabriel's guidance, every piece of this nightmare. It all led to one thing. Survive. Fight smart and outthink them. I pressed on. Deeper into the tunnel, shadows stretching around me. Each step, each decision was life or death. And I realized, for the first time, the fight wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about taking the power back. And whatever came next, I would not let them win. The tunnel seemed endless. Darkness pressed in on every side, the cold, damp air stinging my lungs. Every step echoed, every breath felt like a countdown. I gripped the flashlight tighter, praying my hands wouldn't betray me. With a tremor, the distorted voice had gone silent, but I knew it was only waiting, watching, calculating. The silence was heavier than any sound. I followed the twist of the tunnel, the map Gabriel had memorized guiding me like a lifeline. My heart hammered. Every corner I turned felt like a trap. Every shadow could conceal death. Then, light. Faint, flickering, but unmistakable. The northern exit. My ticket out. By chance, I sprinted, ignoring the burn in my legs. The air grew fresher, the smell of morning creeping in. Freedom. Almost, but I wasn't the only one moving. The sound of footsteps, deliberate, fast, echoed behind me. I didn't dare look back. My mind raced. They were here. The orchestrators. The ones behind my father's death. the ones trying to erase me from existence, emerged from the tunnel into an abandoned warehouse at the edge of town. Morning sunlight streamed through broken windows, illuminating debris and dust swirling in the air. For a split second, I thought I was safe. Then I saw him. The tall figure, hooded, faceless, carrying the deepfake tablet, stood at the far end of the warehouse. Behind him, more figures emerged, each dressed in black, each armed. The trap was complete. I froze, chest tightening. My instincts screamed fight or flight. I had no weapons, no backup. Just Gabriel's teachings, his diversion, and sheer determination, a voice echoed, amplified through a hidden speaker. Noah Rowan, you can't hide. You can't run. Give up and it ends now. I swallowed my fear. My father's words, Gabriel's guidance, my own survival instinct surged. I would not be a pawn. Not today. Not ever. I scanned the warehouse, my eyes landing on crates, metal rods, chains, and improvised weapons. My mind raced, calculating distance, angles, escape routes, then movement from the shadows. Gabriel. He appeared silently, a flare of tactical brilliance in his every step. He had created the perfect distraction, guiding some of the attackers away from me. I took my chance. Sprinting across the warehouse, I grabbed a metal pipe from a nearby stack. One figure lunged at me. Instinctively, I swung. A crash, a grunt. The figure stumbled backward. You should have stayed home, he said coldly, raising a gun. Time slowed. Every memory of the morning, of the past months of my father's warnings, flashed through me. Fear surged, then transformed into clarity. I swung the metal pipe with all my strength. It connected with the attacker's side. He stumbled, dropping the gun. I kicked it out of reach. Gabriel appeared behind me, taking control of the remaining attackers with precise maneuvers. Within seconds, the threat was neutralized. The warehouse was silent except for our heavy breathing. Collapsed against a crate, heart racing, adrenaline spiking, sweat dripping down my face. Gabriel checked the surroundings, eyes scanning every corner. It's over. For now, he said. I sank to the floor, relief and exhaustion washing over me. But the truth was still raw, jagged. My father's death, the network, the deepfake, the betrayal by someone I trusted. It was all real. Gabriel handed me the tablet. On the screen, files, recordings, proof. Everything my father had discovered. The network, the attacks, the plans, all exposed. You need to see this, Gabriel said. And then, you finish what your father started. I swallowed hard. My hands shook, but determination flared. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was taking control, exposing the truth, ending the game on my terms. The sun streamed through the broken windows, illuminating dust and debris. And for the first time that day, I felt something like hope. I looked at Gabriel. We do this together? He nodded. Always. And as the morning light touched my face, I realized I wasn't just alive. I was ready, the hunt wasn't over. But now I was the one holding the power.